Welcome BTS lover. That night seemed ordinary, the city streets flowing calmly, and a taxi moving along, quietly without anyone realizing that a warm and unforgettable moment was about to be created. Taehyung, with his signature gentle smile, turned out to be holding a sweet story that he had just shared, a simple yet deeply meaningful Christmas moment. Inside that modest taxi, it wasn't a grand stage or dazzling lights that greeted him, but an unexpected special gift, Turkish chocolate from the taxi driver, sincerely given as a Christmas greeting. How did Taehyung react when he received such a small yet heartwarming gift? What did he feel when a simple act of kindness from a stranger was able to warm his heart in the midst of his busy and tiring days? And why did this brief moment inside a taxi leave such a deep impression on Taehyung that he felt the need to share it with ARMY? Welcome BTS lover. In this video we will dive into Taehyung's sweet, warm, and emotional story about how a piece of Christmas chocolate inside a taxi turned into a beautiful memory he will never forget. Don't go anywhere, because this simple story might warm your heart as well. The story did not begin with flashing cameras or roaring crowds. It began quietly, almost invisibly, in a moment so ordinary that most people would have forgotten it by the next morning. Taehyung himself admitted that at first, he didn't even realize this taxi ride would become something he would carry in his heart. The city outside the window was glowing softly, Christmas lights reflecting on wet streets, the air cold but calm. It was one of those nights when exhaustion settles deep into the body, when even breathing feels slow, and the world seems to move in muted colors. Taehyung sat in the back seat, wrapped in his coat, eyes wandering between the passing buildings and his own thoughts. Schedules had been tight, days had been long, smiles had been given generously to fans, to cameras, to the world, but inside, there was a familiar quiet tiredness that only he truly understood. He wasn't sad, just human, just tired, just craving something simple, something real. The taxi driver, unaware of the global star sitting behind him, hummed softly to a song playing on the radio. The melody was unfamiliar, perhaps local, perhaps nostalgic. It fit the night perfectly. Taehyung listened, feeling oddly comforted by the simplicity of it all. No one was asking him questions. No one was filming. No expectations. Just a ride through the city. As the taxi slowed at a traffic light, the driver glanced in the rearview mirror and smiled. It was a warm smile, the kind that doesn't ask for anything in return. In broken English mixed with gestures, he asked if Taehyung was enjoying his stay. Taehyung nodded politely, returning the smile, never once revealing who he was. In that moment, he wasn't V of BTS, he was just a passenger on a cold Christmas night. Then came the moment that changed everything. As the taxi approached its destination, the driver reached into a small compartment near the dashboard. He pulled out a modest package, nothing fancy, no ribbons or glittering paper, just a small bar of Turkish chocolate. He turned around slightly and held it out, his eyes crinkling with sincerity. "Merry Christmas," he said. Taehyung froze. For a split second, his mind struggled to catch up with his heart. He hadn't expected anything, not even kindness, especially not from a stranger who owed him nothing beyond a safe ride. His eyes widened slightly, then softened. He accepted the chocolate with both hands, instinctively bowing his head in gratitude. "Thank you," he replied, his voice quieter than usual. The chocolate felt warm in his hands, as if it carried the warmth of the driver's intention rather than the temperature of the car. It wasn't about the chocolate itself. It was about what it represented: a simple human connection. Unfiltered, unrecorded, pure. Later, Taehyung would confess that in that moment, his chest tightened unexpectedly. Not from sadness, but from something gentler, something almost fragile. It reminded him of Christmases long ago, before fame, before stages, before the weight of millions of eyes. A time when gifts were small but hearts were full. The driver didn't ask for a photo, didn't ask for a name, didn't even seem to care who Taehyung was. To him, Taehyung was just someone sharing the same night, the same cold air, the same passing moment in time. And that, Taehyung would later say, was what made it unforgettable. When he stepped out of the taxi, He turned back once more. The driver waved cheerfully, already preparing to drive away, already moving on to the next passenger, the next story. The taxi disappeared into the glowing street, taking with it a moment that would stay with Taehyung far longer than anyone could have imagined. That night, Taehyung didn't need the chocolate right away. He placed it carefully on the table in his room, as if it were something precious. He sat quietly, staring at it, replaying the moment again and again. The smile, the voice, the simple Merry Christmas. He realized then how rare such moments had become in his life. Moments without expectations, without labels, without noise. When he finally shared the story with fans, his voice softened noticeably. There was no exaggeration, no dramatic flair, just honesty, just warmth. Armies around the world felt it instantly. Social media filled with messages saying the same thing. This is why we love him. Not because he is famous, but because he notices kindness, because he treasures humanity. Fans began to imagine the scene vividly: the quiet taxi, the glowing streets, Taehyung's gentle surprise. Many admitted they cried. Some said it reminded them to be kinder, to notice strangers, to give without expecting anything back. Others said it made Christmas feel closer, warmer, more real. What made this story even more powerful was Taehyung's reflection afterward. He didn't talk about luck or coincidence. He talked about gratitude, about how even the smallest gesture can change the emotional temperature of a person's entire day, about how kindness doesn't need an audience. He wondered aloud how many people the driver had given chocolate to that night, how many smiles he had shared without knowing the impact. And he hoped quietly, sincerely, that the driver had gone home feeling warm too. In a world obsessed with big moments, this was a small one, and yet it echoed louder than many headlines. Armies began sharing their own similar experiences, stories of strangers who made their days brighter, of unexpected gifts, of moments that restored their faith in people. Taehyung's story had become more than just a personal memory. It had become a reminder that even global stars are moved by simple kindness. A reminder that humanity still exists in quiet corners. A reminder that Christmas isn't about grandeur, but about heart. And somewhere out there, a taxi driver likely continues his nights as usual, unaware that a small piece of Turkish chocolate became a symbol of warmth for millions around the world. As for Taehyung, that chocolate may have been eaten or saved, but the feeling stayed. And perhaps every time he steps into a taxi now, every time he hears a soft song on the radio, every time someone smiles without reason, he remembers that night. A night when Christmas arrived quietly. A night when kindness spoke louder than fame. A night when a simple taxi ride became a beautiful memory. The days after Taehyung shared this story, something subtle but powerful began to happen. It wasn't loud. It didn't trend because of controversy or shock. Instead, it spread slowly, like warmth traveling from one heart to another. Fans replayed his words not because of what he received, but because of how deeply he felt it. Many noticed a pause in his voice when he talked about that taxi ride, the way his eyes softened as if he were reliving it all over again. Taehyung reflected that night taught him something he didn't want to forget. He realized that kindness has a way of reaching people exactly when they need it most, even if the giver never knows the timing was perfect. He admitted that he had been feeling mentally tired, quietly overwhelmed by responsibilities and expectations. And yet, that simple Merry Christmas cut through everything, reminding him that he was still just a person moving through the world, sharing moments with other people doing the same. He said the chocolate tasted sweeter than usual, not because of its flavor, but because of the intention behind it. Every bite reminded him of sincerity, of a stranger's generosity, of a night where he didn't have to be anything other than himself. In that moment, he felt grounded again. Armies responded with overwhelming warmth. Messages poured in from fans saying they would try to be that kind of person for someone else, offering a smile, a small gift, or kind words without expecting recognition. Some fans even shared photos of Turkish chocolate, saying they bought it to remember Taehyung's story, turning it into a quiet symbol of kindness and connection. What touched fans most was Taehyung's final thought. He said he hoped that someday, without realizing it, he could be someone's taxi driver moment, someone who unknowingly makes another person's day a little lighter, not through fame or music, but through simple humanity. As Christmas lights faded and the year moved forward, that story remained, not as a headline, but as a feeling, a gentle reminder that even in passing moments, even between strangers, something meaningful can happen. And perhaps that is why this story stayed with so many people, because it wasn't about a celebrity receiving a gift. It was about how kindness, no matter how small, can travel far beyond a single taxi ride quietly, sincerely, and forever remembered.